year would be that joint practice in week 1. And then this year, just feel like that's what this team needs to get ready. Try to every single year make decisions based on what the guys need.
Nobody thought the Cleveland Browns' wildest preseason drama would explode from inside their own locker room. But here we are. Kevin Stefanski, once praised as the calm and collected coach under fire, suddenly looks like a man hiding secrets. And fans say it all circles back to one name, Shedeur Sanders. Why is the hottest quarterback on the roster mysteriously parked on the sideline? Why is Stefanski ducking direct questions he used to answer with pride and certainty? Meanwhile, Gabriel, a guy critics say hasn't earned half the spotlight, keeps getting handed opportunity after opportunity, while Shedeur gets pushed deeper and deeper into the shadows. From eyebrow-raising depth charts to these conveniently timed injuries, the whole thing reeks of something bigger going on in Cleveland.
Because all I know is that what I keep hearing is what you're telling me what he can't do. Like my coach just said in college, hey, find something that he can do. See, you keep telling me what Shedeur can't do. Well, your job as a coach is to put players in position and find something that they can do.
If this is really about developing talent, then why does it look more like avoiding accountability? We're talking timing, tension, and the hidden truth behind this quarterback mess. By the end, you might be asking the same thing everybody else is. What's Stefanski actually so afraid of? Now, don't forget, Stefanski isn't a stranger to criticism, but this storm feels hotter than anything he's faced before. His latest quarterback calls sparked outrage that even the most loyal Browns fans couldn't defend. Choosing Gabriel to start in the latest preseason game, fans called it political, critics called it tone-deaf, and everyone agreed. Something just doesn't add up. But here's what really lit the fire. It wasn't just who Stefanski picked, it was how he reacted when pressed. The once confident coach who used to roll out the QB depth chart without blinking was nowhere to be found. Instead, we got a vague, dodgy Stefanski sidestepping every question and stalling with hollow phrases like, "Fans aren't buying Stefanski's act anymore," especially when every move feels less about winning games and more about dodging the Shedeur Sanders question. Is Stefanski really protecting the team? Or just protecting himself? Because the second Shedeur's name gets dropped, his whole demeanor flips. His shoulders tense, his voice slows, and the once clear answers turn into weak little throwaways like, "We'll see," or "day by day."
Also set the pecking order following, meaning quarterback 2, 3, and 4, or will there be a competition right through Cincinnati week?
Yeah, well, I'll talk to we'll have the team in tomorrow, so I'll be able to talk through a bunch of different things with our players. But in terms of, where people are, first string, second string, those type of things, not really thinking about that.
And that's exactly what has people talking. Just a few weeks ago, Stefanski had no problem spelling out the quarterback depth chart. He was sharp, assertive, and left zero room for confusion. Now, he won't even confirm who's in the top 3. That's not just a change in tone, that's a full-blown reversal, and nobody's missing it. Analysts are already asking the tough question. Is Stefanski stalling? Is he dragging his feet, waiting for the hype to cool down before fans demand what's starting to feel inevitable? Shedeur as the starter? Every answer he gives sounds rehearsed, like he's trying to balance on a tightrope, control the narrative without triggering a fan revolt. Some say he's protecting the locker room. Others think he's scared of making a call that's guaranteed to set off fireworks no matter what. But one thing's clear. The more Stefanski dodges Shedeur talk, the more obvious it looks that Shedeur himself is the issue Stefanski doesn't want to face. And his favorite excuse, player development. On paper it sounds good, but once you look closer, it doesn't add up. If development's the priority, then why is the one quarterback who looks the most polished, the most game-ready, the one still warming the bench? Because Shedeur Sanders hasn't just shown potential, he's delivered the biggest, most electric plays of the entire preseason. And yet somehow, he still hasn't been trusted with a single snap alongside the first-team offense. No real opportunities to build chemistry. No chance to lock down the role many believe he's already earned. Meanwhile, Gabriel keeps racking up snaps despite struggling to move the ball.
What do you plan to do at quarterback for the dress rehearsal game, and what is the timeline for naming week 1 starter?
Yeah, I want to get through the next couple days, but certainly that's something that we're going to do here sooner than later.
His drives stall, his rhythm's off, yet he keeps getting extended time. So if this is truly about building the best roster, why is the quarterback with the highest ceiling stuck watching from the sidelines? And every time Stefanski's pressed on it, he slides back into that empty coach speak. We're evaluating. Everyone's getting their turn. We're doing what's best for the team. But none of those lines answer the most obvious question. What exactly does Shadow need to do to be treated like a real contender? From the outside, it's starting to look less like development and more like a calculated delay.
Do you have any health update on Kenny and Shedeur? Do you expect them to increase their level of participation in practice this week?
I hope so. We really have to take those day by day, so I don't know where that ends up towards the end of the week, but I'm hoping.
If there's one thing Stefanski has truly mastered this preseason, it's talking without saying anything. His quarterback answers sound more like a politician running for office than a head coach preparing for kickoff. Vague optimism, delayed promises. We'll decide in a couple days. We're still looking at everything. We'll do what's best for the team. Those aren't answers. Those are stall tactics. And the timing couldn't be more suspicious. Because just as fans started demanding real clarity, Stefanski doubled down on ambiguity. Instead of stepping forward and naming a leader, he backed away, hoping the noise would die on its own. But Browns fans aren't buying it anymore. And word is, neither are the players. Quarterback isn't just another position, it's the position. It sets the entire tone for the roster. So when your head coach won't commit to a depth chart 2 weeks before the season opener, that doesn't scream confidence, it screams suspicion. So is Stefanski really evaluating or just flat out avoiding? Because right now, it feels less like game planning and more like hiding. And the longer he hides, the louder the noise around Shadow gets. And wouldn't you know it, just when pressure to play Sanders hit its peak, suddenly an injury report dropped. The official word, arm soreness, the timing, way too convenient. Coaches brushed it off as nothing serious and said it'd be reevaluated. The so-called next-day update came and went, but Shadow was nowhere near the field. No throw count, no rehab sessions in sight, just dead silence. And that's when suspicion exploded. Was this really an injury or a manufactured pause? A convenient excuse to keep him out of the spotlight just long enough for the noise to cool down? Because let's be real, the optics of Shadow shining brighter than everyone else while sitting at QB4 were killing Stefanski's credibility. An injury gave him the perfect shield at the perfect time. And here's where it got even stranger. Dillon Gabriel and Kenny Pickett were both banged up too, yet somehow they were still ranked higher than Shadow on the depth chart. Fans couldn't make sense of it. If this was really about health, why wasn't the standard applied evenly? To a lot of people, this arm soreness smelled less like medical concern and more like narrative control. And if that's the case, what are they so desperate to hide? Because out of all the red flags this preseason, none waved louder than that depth chart reveal. And let's be clear, this wasn't just a questionable coaching call, this was a statement. Despite showing more composure, more playmaking, and more upside than anybody else in that room, Shedeur Sanders was buried at QB4. Not second, not even third, fourth, behind Dillon Gabriel, who's been shaky at best, behind Kenny Pickett, who's been limping through injury, behind guys who hadn't shown half the spark, and in some cases, hadn't even played. So the obvious question is this: how does Shadow, whose only reported setback was arm soreness, get ranked beneath two other quarterbacks who were also dealing with injuries? That depth chart didn't just confuse fans, it confirmed their worst fears. It felt like a deliberate move to push Shadow out of the conversation, to erase his name from the quarterback race entirely. From the outside looking in, it didn't look like strategy. It looked like sabotage, because if performance really mattered, Shadow should have been rising. Instead, he's being buried alive in plain sight. And the Browns staying silent on all of this only poured gasoline on the fire, and now it's blazing hotter than ever. If there's one player cashing in from Stefanski's quarterback shuffle, it's Dillon Gabriel, and that's exactly what's driving fans crazy. Gabriel was handed the perfect setup. First-team defense, top-tier protection, the keys to prove himself. That was supposed to be his breakout moment. Instead, he played scared, like he was just trying not to mess up. Every throw was safe, every read cautious. He wasn't moving chains, he was just trying to survive. And yeah, maybe playing it safe looked smart on paper until the heat turned up. Once the defense rotated and the protection slipped, Gabriel completely unraveled. Fumbled snaps, sloppy turnovers, zero poise. The moment things got messy, Gabriel got messier. But here's the real kicker, his post-game attitude. Analyst Chris Canty didn't hold back, saying Gabriel could never be a true franchise QB. Why? Because he didn't just fall short on the field, he failed in the locker room too. Instead of taking accountability, Gabriel shifted blame. No ownership, no fire, no leadership. Meanwhile, Shadow's pressers show poise and maturity way beyond his years. Gabriel looked lost. And he sounded worse. The truth? He's just not that guy. So why is Stefanski still treating him like he is? At this point, The biggest obstacle in the Browns quarterback room isn't the talent. It's Kevin Stefanski himself. His refusal to name a starter, his vague answers, his constant dodging. It's created nothing but chaos. Instead of steadying the ship, he's let it spring leaks everywhere, and now the whole thing looks shaky. Every depth chart shuffle, every suspicious injury update, every awkward pause the second Shadow's name comes up. It all paints one picture, a coach who's not really coaching, just managing optics. And those optics aren't just bad, they're toxic. The team looks confused, the fans feel ignored, and the locker room? That's a ticking time bomb waiting to blow. Whether it's personal, political, or just plain fear of shaking things up, Stefanski's handling of this mess has left one undeniable takeaway. He does not want to deal with Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's the media storm, maybe it's the pressure from upstairs, or maybe it's because if Shedeur rises, some of Stefanski's favorites lose their spots. Whatever the reason, the silence is louder than any answer. And with week 1 right around the corner, the Browns don't just have a quarterback dilemma, they've got a full-on leadership crisis. At this point, the pattern's impossible to ignore. Stefanski keeps saying this QB battle is about finding the best fit, but if that's true, why does the guy with the most upside keep getting shoved to the back? Gabriel's had his chances, multiple chances, and every time he either plays too safe or falls apart when the pressure cranks up. His leadership, questionable. His performance, shaky at best. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders has flashed confidence, composure, and the type of playmaking that makes defenses sweat. Yet he keeps getting overlooked. Injuries that appear out of nowhere, depth charts shuffled with no real logic, and every press conference turning into a dance around the one name Stefanski refuses to confront. This doesn't look like strategy anymore. It looks like flat-out avoidance, and fans aren't stupid. They're reading between the lines, and the message is clear. Something's being hidden. So now the questions pile up. Is Stefanski actually doing what's best for the Browns? Is Gabriel being protected even after proving he's not the answer? And most of all, is Shedeur Sanders being held back on purpose? Because Cleveland deserves more than politics. They deserve a quarterback who can lead. So now it's over to you. Is this smart coaching or straight-up sabotage from the top? Has Dillon really earned the job, or is Shedeur being denied his shot? And if nothing changes before week 1, how long before this whole quarterback controversy blows up in Cleveland's face? Make sure to like, share, subscribe, drop your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.